What if everything you thought you owned vanished overnight? What if the mansion you lived in, the money you spent without earning, the life you took for granted disappeared like smoke? This is the story of a man who learned the hardest lesson of his life when reality hit him like a lightning bolt. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our life-changing stories. Now let's dive in. Marcus stood in the grand living room of his parents' estate, his voice echoing off the marble walls as he pointed an accusing finger at his elderly mother. "You brought me into this world without asking my permission. It's your duty, your obligation to provide me with everything I want. A new sports car, designer clothes, unlimited spending money. All of it." His mother, Elizabeth, stood there with tired eyes that had seen this scene play out countless times before. Her son was 40 years old, yet he acted like a spoiled teenager who refused to grow up. While his childhood friends had become fathers, husbands, and successful businessmen, Marcus had become nothing more than a consumer of his parents' wealth. Marcus was tall, physically fit, and completely capable of working. But he had convinced himself that employment was beneath him. After all, why would someone from a wealthy family need to work? His parents had built a financial empire, and he was the sole heir to everything they owned. In his twisted logic, working would be an insult to his status. Elizabeth had tried everything. She had even secured him a position at a prestigious firm that offered $250,000 per month. The role required 10 hours of work daily, but Marcus dismissed it with a laugh. 10 hours? That's practically slavery, mother. I need my sleep. Besides, you keep my credit cards loaded. Why would I waste my time making money when I can simply spend it? His father, Robert, had reached his breaking point months ago. Their only son had become a parasite, draining their resources while contributing nothing to the world. Marcus spent his days sleeping until noon, his afternoons at exclusive clubs, and his nights partying with people who only liked him for his money. What hurt Elizabeth most was watching Marcus interact with women. She and Robert had introduced him to accomplished, intelligent young ladies from respectable families, hoping one of them might inspire him to change. But Marcus treated every woman with contempt. During one arranged meeting, Marcus arrived an entire hour late. When he finally showed up at the upscale restaurant, the young woman, Sophia, had already left. Marcus immediately called her, his voice dripping with arrogance. "How dare you leave before I arrived? Do you have any idea who I am? You just wasted an hour of my valuable time." Sophia, a successful architect who had agreed to the meeting as a favor to her parents, couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Your valuable time? You were an hour late and didn't even have the courtesy to call. I have actual work to do, unlike some people who live off their parents' success." She hung up and immediately blocked his number. Another date ended in disaster when Marcus met Jennifer at an outdoor cafe. During their conversation, Jennifer accidentally brushed against his expensive Italian leather shoes while adjusting her chair. Marcus's face turned red with rage. "Get on your knees right now and clean that smudge off my shoe. Do you know how much these cost? More than your entire wardrobe, I'm sure." Jennifer stared at him in disbelief. "Excuse me? You want me to kneel and clean your shoe because I barely touched it by accident?" She stood up, threw her napkin on the table, and walked away while other patrons stared at Marcus with disgust. His worst behavior came during a date with Nicole at Riverside Park. They had been walking for barely 20 minutes when Marcus suggested they go to a nearby hotel. When Nicole politely declined, explaining she hardly knew him and this was only their first meeting, Marcus simply turned around and walked to his car. He drove away, leaving her stranded in the park without even checking if she had a way to get home. Marcus only cared about himself. He didn't notice or didn't care that his behavior was breaking his parents' hearts. In fact, dark thoughts had begun to occupy his mind. He had started viewing his parents' eventual deaths as a business transaction. Late at night, he would lie in his king-sized bed, mentally dividing their properties, calculating the value of their investments, and imagining the absolute freedom he would have when all their wealth transferred to him. One Saturday evening, Marcus headed to his favorite nightclub, Platinum Lounge. He arrived in his midnight black sports car, tossing the keys to the valet without even looking at him. Inside, the music pounded through expensive speakers while colored lights swept across the crowd. Marcus headed straight to the VIP section, where he began his usual routine, ordering the most expensive bottles, laughing too loudly, and making it rain with his parents' money. He noticed an attractive woman across the room. She was engaged in conversation with her friends, clearly enjoying her evening. Marcus approached her with the confidence of someone who believed money could buy anything, including people's attention. "Hey beautiful, I'm Marcus. Let me buy you a drink." Actually, let me buy you whatever you want. See that bottle over there? That's $3,000 and I just ordered it because I can. The woman, Alicia, glanced at him briefly before returning to her conversation with her friends. She had encountered men like Marcus before, men who thought wealth was a substitute for personality or character. Marcus wasn't used to being ignored. His pride, inflated by years of never hearing the word no, couldn't handle this rejection. His voice rose above the music. Do you know who you're ignoring? My family owns half this city. You should be grateful I'm even talking to someone like you. Alicia finally turned to face him, her expression calm but firm. Someone like me? I'm a cardiac surgeon. I save lives. What do you do besides spend money you didn't earn? The people around them started to take notice. Marcus's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. He began hurling insults at Alicia, calling her names that made everyone around them gasp. His voice grew louder and more aggressive until security guards rushed over. Sir, you need to leave. Now, the head of security said firmly. Do you know who I am? I'll have all of you fired, Marcus threatened, but the guards were already escorting him toward the exit. As he was being removed, the club's owner appeared. Marcus opened his mouth to complain, but the owner cut him off. You just verbally assaulted my younger sister. You're permanently banned from every establishment I own in this city. If you ever come near Alicia again, you'll deal with more than just security guards. Marcus found himself standing outside the club, humiliated but too drunk to feel the full weight of what had just happened. The music was still pounding in his head as he stumbled to his car. He knew he was in no condition to drive, but he didn't care. Rules were for ordinary people, and Marcus had never considered himself ordinary. He sped through the city streets, running red lights and swerving between lanes. Pedestrians jumped back on sidewalks, shouting curses as his car roared past. The alcohol in his system made everything feel surreal, like he was in a video game where nothing had real consequences. Then, without warning, an elderly man stepped into the crosswalk directly in front of his car. Marcus slammed on the brakes, tires screeching against the asphalt. The car stopped just inches from the old man, who stumbled backward, his face pale with shock and terror. Instead of feeling relief or concern, Marcus felt rage. He threw open his car door and stormed toward the old man, who was still trying to catch his breath and steady his shaking hands. Are you insane? Marcus screamed. Do you have any idea how much this car costs? If I had hit you, people would say I used you for some ritual sacrifice or something. Look at you, old and worthless, probably can't even afford to fix a scratch on my paint job. The elderly man, whose name was Thomas, looked at Marcus with a mixture of sadness and disappointment. Despite nearly being killed, he spoke calmly. Young man, you need to be very careful how you speak to people. Words carry weight and the universe has a way of balancing things out. Marcus laughed mockingly. Is that a threat, old man? Are you threatening me? Before Thomas could respond, Marcus slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed in the quiet street. Do your worst. See if I care. Thomas held his reddening cheek, saying nothing more. Marcus got back in his car and sped away, not caring about the pain or fear he had caused. He arrived home 20 minutes later, stumbling through the front door of his parents' mansion. He went straight to his bedroom, collapsed onto his bed without even removing his shoes, and fell into a deep, heavy sleep. But this wasn't ordinary sleep. It was the kind of sleep that felt like falling through darkness with no sense of time or space. When Marcus finally opened his eyes, something was terribly wrong. The room around him was nothing like his luxurious bedroom. The ceiling was low and cracked, with water stains spreading across it like brown spider webs. A weak, noisy fan rotated slowly in the corner, barely moving the hot, stale air. Marcus sat up quickly, his heart pounding with confusion. This wasn't his room. There was no air conditioning, no expensive artwork on the walls, no walk-in closet filled with designer clothes. Instead, he saw peeling paint, a single plastic chair, and a thin mattress on the floor that felt nothing like his premium orthopedic bed. Mom? Dad? He shouted, his voice cracking with panic. What kind of joke is this? A woman appeared in the doorway, wearing a faded wrapper and an exhausted expression that spoke of years of hard labor. She looked like his mother but different. Her hands were rough and calloused, her face lined with worry instead of the peaceful contentment that came from financial security. Yes, my son? Why are you shouting so early in the morning? She asked. Marcus stared at her in horror. Where's our house? Our real house. What is this place? The woman, who seemed to be his mother but couldn't possibly be, laughed as if he had told a joke. Which house are you talking about, Marcus? This is the only house we've ever had. Are you feeling all right? Did you have a bad dream? This can't be real, Marcus whispered, running to the door. He burst outside, expecting to see the manicured lawns and fountain of his family estate. Instead, he found a small, dusty compound with clothes hanging on a rope to dry. There was no gate, no security guards, no luxury vehicles. His father sat on a wooden stool under a tree, repairing an old radio with tools that looked like they had been used for decades. Robert looked up when Marcus came running out. Dad, what happened to everything? Our cars, our businesses, our money? Where is it all? Robert put down his screwdriver and looked at his son with concern. Marcus, what are you talking about? What cars? What businesses? I'm a retired teacher. I get a small pension. Your mother sells vegetables at the market. We've never had money. We barely have enough to feed ourselves. Are you sick? Should we take you to the clinic? Marcus felt the world spinning around him. His chest tightened and he struggled to breathe. No. This isn't possible. We're rich. We have houses, investments, everything. What happened? What's going on? His father stood up and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Son, you've never been rich a day in your life. Come inside. Let me get you some water. You're not making any sense. Marcus pulled away and ran back into the tiny house. He locked himself in the small room, sat on the thin mattress and buried his face in his hands. His mind raced with questions that had no answers. Was this a nightmare? Had he somehow been transported to an alternate reality? Was he losing his mind? How did I get here? He whispered to himself, rocking back and forth. His mother knocked softly on the door before entering. Marcus, dear, are you not going to work today? You know they'll dock your pay if you're late. Marcus looked up slowly. Work? What work? I don't have a job. His mother's concern deepened. Marcus, you've been acting very strange since you woke up. You work at Sunshine Car Washington. You've been working there for 2 years now. If you don't go, we won't have enough money for food this week. Please, son, get ready. The words hit Marcus like physical blows. Car wash? Working at a car wash? You want me to wash cars? His voice came out as a broken whisper. Yes, that's what you do every day. You wash cars for wealthy people. Now please hurry or Mr. Chen will be angry with you. Marcus stumbled out of the house in a daze. He found himself at a busy car wash where expensive vehicles came and went. A supervisor handed him a dirty bucket, a worn sponge and a faded rag. You're late, Marcus. This is the 3rd time this month. One more strike and you're fired. Now get to work. That Mercedes needs to be spotless in 15 minutes. For the first time in his life, Marcus worked with his hands. He scrubbed tires that were caked with mud. He wiped down windows until his shoulders ached. He bent over hoods until his back screamed in pain. The hot sun beat down on him mercilessly while car after car rolled through. Each vehicle reminded him of what he had lost or thought he had. A black SUV identical to one he used to drive pulled in around noon. Marcus approached it with his bucket and when he looked through the window he froze. The man sitting in the back seat looked exactly like Thomas, the elderly man he had slapped the night before. But this man was dressed in an expensive suit, wearing a luxury watch and talking on a phone that cost more than Marcus now earned in a month. Marcus's hands began to shake. Recognition and confusion warred in his mind. He walked around to the driver's window. Excuse me, sir. Can you step out for a moment? The man emerged from the car, looking at Marcus with mild curiosity. Yes? Is something wrong with the service? Marcus studied his face carefully. It was definitely him. The same face, the same eyes, but everything else was different. This man radiated wealth and confidence. You were on the street last night? Marcus said accusingly. I saw you. You were dressed in old clothes and I? The man looked confused. I'm sorry, but I think you have me confused with someone else. I was at a business dinner last night at the Grand Hotel. I certainly wasn't wandering around any streets. No, it was you. I know it was you. Marcus's voice rose. You did something to me. You took my life. You stole everything from me and gave me yours. I was rich and you were poor and now it's all switched. People stopped working to stare. The car wash supervisor rushed over. Marcus, what's gotten into you? Apologize to Mr. Thompson right now. But Marcus couldn't stop. Years of entitlement, combined with the shock of his new reality, exploded out of him. You're a thief. You stole my destiny. You took everything that belonged to me. Mr. Thompson remained calm, but his driver stepped forward protectively. Sir, should I call security? Please do, Mr. Thompson said quietly. This young man seems to be having some kind of episode. Marcus began shouting louder, accusing Mr. Thompson of being a devil, a sorcerer, someone who had used supernatural means to switch their lives. Security arrived within minutes, but Marcus wouldn't calm down. When he tried to follow Mr. Thompson's car as it left, the police were called. Marcus was arrested for causing a public disturbance and making threats. He spent that night in a holding cell, cold, cramped, and filled with people who had real problems, people who had committed real crimes. No one bowed to him here. No one cared about his theories or his accusations. He was just another person in the system. His parents, now elderly and poor, spent 3 days trying to secure his release. They used what little savings they had to hire a cheap lawyer, but nothing seemed to work. Elizabeth visited the police station every day, crying and begging for mercy on behalf of her son. On the 4th day, she decided to go to the mansion where Mr. Thompson lived. It took her 2 bus rides to get there, and when she saw the house, she nearly broke down crying. It was massive, beautiful, and familiar in a way that made no sense to her. Security stopped her at the gate. "Please, I need to speak with Mr. Thompson. My son is in jail and it's all a misunderstanding. Please, just 5 minutes." After much pleading, she was allowed to wait in a visiting area. When Mr. Thompson finally appeared, both Elizabeth and Robert, who had joined her, immediately fell to their knees. "Please, sir," Elizabeth begged, tears streaming down her face. "My son is foolish. He's confused. He didn't mean any harm. Please drop the charges. He's our only child. He's all we have." Mr. Thompson looked at them for a long moment. Then he spoke in a measured tone. "I'll agree to drop all charges, but only under one condition." The elderly couple looked up hopefully. "Anything, sir. Whatever you want. Your son must come and work in my home as a servant for 1 year. During that time he'll learn discipline, responsibility, and what it truly means to earn something through honest work. I'll pay him well, far better than what he earns at the car wash. But he must serve and he must learn. If he completes the year, I'll give him an excellent reference and help him start a career. Those are my terms." Robert and Elizabeth rushed to the police station immediately. When they told Marcus about the offer, he laughed bitterly. "Work as a servant in that man's house? The man who stole my life? Never. I'd rather rot in this cell." Elizabeth grabbed her son's hands through the bars. "Marcus, please. He's offering you a chance. The pay is 10 times what you earn at the car wash. We're too old and poor to keep fighting this. Please, my son. Do this for us, if not for yourself." "He's evil, Mother. Can't you see that? He took everything from us." "What did he take? We've always been poor, Marcus. These delusions in your head aren't real. But this jail is real. These bars are real. The fact that we might lose you forever is real. Please." That night in the cell, Marcus couldn't sleep. One of his cellmates, a large man with scars on his arms and a disturbing smile, had taken an interest in him. The man moved closer throughout the evening, making comments that sent chills down Marcus's spine. "You're new here," the man said, his breath hot and foul. "Fresh face. I like that. We're going to be good friends, you and me. Real good friends." Marcus pressed himself against the wall, his heart hammering in his chest. Every shadow seemed threatening. Every sound made him flinch. By dawn, his pride had completely shattered. He couldn't survive another night in that cell. When the guards came for roll call, Marcus called out to them desperately. I accept the condition. Please call my parents. I'll do the job. Just get me out of here." His parents arrived that afternoon, relief washing over their tired faces. "Thank God," Elizabeth whispered, hugging her son tightly. "Thank God you came to your senses." That evening, Marcus was released and taken directly to Mr. Thompson's mansion. As he stepped through the doors, he expected to feel some sense of recognition, some confirmation that this had once been his home. But everything looked different. The layout, the furniture, the decorations, none of it matched his memories. He was shown to his quarters, a small room he would share with 3 other household staff members. It wasn't the cold cell, but it was a far cry from the massive bedroom suite he remembered having. Marcus was given a uniform and a schedule. He would wake at 5 every morning, assist with breakfast preparation, clean designated areas of the house, serve meals, and perform whatever tasks were assigned to him. There would be 1 day off per week. For the first few days, Marcus moved through the house like a ghost, searching for anything familiar. But the room that should have been his bedroom was now a fully equipped gym. The library where he thought his father used to work was a music room. Nothing matched. Slowly, a terrifying thought began to take root in his mind. What if the wealthy life he remembered had never existed? What if those memories were somehow false, implanted, or distorted? What if he had always been poor, and some kind of mental break had convinced him otherwise? Either way, Marcus realized he had no choice but to work. And this time he worked harder than he ever had in his life. He woke before his alarm. He cleaned without being told. He listened to every instruction and accepted every criticism without complaint. Mr. Thompson ran his household with quiet discipline. He never yelled, never raised his voice, but he expected excellence. Marcus began to see how different true leadership was from the arrogant posturing he had mistaken for power. Memories of his old behavior haunted him constantly. Every floor he scrubbed reminded him of Jennifer, the woman he had ordered to clean his shoes. Every instruction he followed reminded him of the parents he had ignored and disrespected. Every meal he served reminded him of the nights he had wastefully thrown money around in clubs. 3 months into his service, Marcus was assigned to clean Mr. Thompson's bedroom. He worked carefully, dusting every surface and organizing everything precisely. As he moved a heavy curtain to clean behind it, he noticed a large travel bag partially hidden beside the wardrobe. Curiosity overwhelmed him. He opened it slightly and his breath caught in his throat. Money. Stacks and stacks of cash, more than he had seen in his entire life, neatly arranged in the bag. Marcus's hands trembled. This was his chance. He could take some of this money, maybe even all of it. He could leave this place, start over somewhere else, become someone new. His fingers reached toward the money. But then he stopped. Images flashed through his mind. The cell, the fear, his mother's tears, the look of disappointment in his father's eyes. He remembered the man in the cell who had terrified him. He thought about Elizabeth and Robert, who had sacrificed what little they had to help him. Slowly, carefully, Marcus zipped the bag closed. He finished cleaning the room thoroughly, making sure everything was exactly as he had found it, and walked out without taking a single bill. Something fundamental shifted inside him in that moment. For the first time in his life, perhaps ever, Marcus made a choice based on integrity rather than immediate gratification. Mr. Thompson noticed the change. He watched Marcus work with dedication and humility. The young man who had arrived broken and angry was transforming into someone with purpose and character. 6 months into the arrangement, Mr. Thompson called Marcus to his office. "Sit down, please," he said, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. Marcus sat nervously, wondering if he had done something wrong. "I have something to show you," Mr. Thompson said, pulling out his laptop. He turned it to face Marcus, showing security footage from his bedroom. The video clearly showed Marcus opening the bag of money, his hands hovering over it, and then zipping it closed and walking away. Marcus felt his face go pale. "Sir, I can explain." Mr. Thompson held up a hand. "You don't need to explain. Your actions spoke clearly. You had the perfect opportunity to steal a fortune and disappear. But you chose integrity instead. Do you know how rare that is, Marcus? Do you know how many people would have taken that money without a second thought?" I don't know what to say, sir." "Tell me something." Mr. Thompson leaned forward. "That night when you first saw me, you claimed I had stolen your life. What did you mean by that?" Marcus took a deep breath and told him everything. He described waking up to find his wealthy life had vanished, how his parents had become poor, how nothing made sense anymore. He talked about the old man he had slapped on the street, who looked exactly like Mr. Thompson but was dressed in rags. "I know it sounds crazy, sir. Maybe I am crazy. I don't know anymore. All I know is that I can't afford to lose what little I have now. I can't go back to that cell. I can't disappoint my parents again. So I'm trying, really trying, to become someone better." Mr. Thompson listened carefully, his expression unreadable. When Marcus finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something unexpected. "Marcus, I've been watching you closely for months now. You've shown remarkable growth, genuine change, and true character development. Because of this, I want to offer you a new position. I need a personal assistant, someone I can trust with sensitive matters, someone who can learn my business from the inside. The position pays 15 times what you currently earn. You would work directly with me and gain experience that could launch a real career. Are you interested?" Marcus felt tears spring to his eyes. "Sir, yes, I would be honored. Thank you for believing in me." "I'm not giving you charity," Mr. Thompson said firmly. "You earned this opportunity through your dedication and choices. Now go tell your parents the good news. You've made them proud." That evening, Marcus rushed to his parents' small apartment. When he told them about the promotion, Elizabeth screamed with joy. Robert raised his hands toward the ceiling, thanking God for answered prayers. For the first time in as long as he could remember, Marcus felt truly proud of himself. Not because of money or status, but because he had earned something through his own effort and integrity. Weeks turned into months. With his increased salary, Marcus was able to move his parents into a proper 2-bedroom apartment. He saved enough to buy a modest used car. His life was transforming, but this time the transformation was real, built on his own hard work rather than inherited wealth. Then one evening Marcus received a call that made his blood run cold. Mr. Thompson's voice was unusually stern and sharp. "Marcus, there's a serious problem. I need you at the mansion immediately. You've been accused of something that could destroy everything you've built. I'm very disappointed. You have 30 minutes to get here." The line went dead. Marcus's hands shook as he grabbed his car keys. His mind raced through possibilities. Had someone framed him? Had he made a mistake he didn't know about? Fear gripped his chest as he drove through the evening traffic. When he arrived at the mansion, Mr. Thompson was waiting in the study. His expression was grave. "Marcus, our financial records show that a significant sum of money was transferred to your personal account 3 weeks ago. We're talking about $50,000 that you cannot explain." "What? That's impossible. I would never." The sound of sirens filled the air outside. Marcus's heart nearly stopped. Through the window he could see police cars pulling up to the gate. But something else caught his eye. His parents were getting out of one of the vehicles, but they weren't in handcuffs. They were walking normally, even smiling. Confusion washed over him as they entered the house with the officers. Then his mother walked directly to Mr. Thompson and shook his hand warmly. "Excellent work, Mr. Thompson. You played your part perfectly." Marcus felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. What's happening?" Elizabeth turned to her son, her eyes filled with tears, but these were tears of joy and relief, not sorrow. "Marcus, sweetheart, none of this was real." "What do you mean none of this was real?" His father stepped forward. "Son, you slapped an old man that night. We had you followed and we learned what you had done. Your behavior had become intolerable. You were destroying your life and breaking our hearts. So we decided to teach you a lesson." Mr. Thompson, the man Marcus had thought was some kind of supernatural being who had stolen his destiny, removed his suit jacket and smiled gently. "I'm an actor, Marcus. Your parents hired me to play a role. Everything you've experienced over the past 9 months has been carefully orchestrated." "We were never poor," Elizabeth said softly. "This mansion is still ours. We simply transformed it to make you think otherwise. The small house where you woke up? We rented that specifically for this plan. The car wash job, the arrest, all of it was designed to make you understand what life is really like for people who have to work for everything they have." Marcus's legs gave out. He collapsed into a chair, his mind struggling to process what he was hearing. "You've been watching me this whole time? Testing me?" "Yes," Robert said. "We needed to know if the change we saw in you was real or just fear-based compliance. The bag of money was the final test. When you walked away from it, when you chose integrity over opportunity, we knew our son had finally found his character." The actor who had played Mr. Thompson spoke up. "For what it's worth, Marcus, I've worked on many projects in my career, but watching your transformation has been the most rewarding role I've ever played. You truly changed. You became someone your parents can be proud of." Marcus covered his face with his hands and wept. Not from anger or betrayal, but from the weight of realization. "I was so terrible. I treated people like they were nothing. I wasted money I never earned. I disrespected everyone, especially you, mother and father. I thought the world owed me everything just because I was born." Elizabeth knelt beside her son and took his hands. "You were alive, but you weren't living. Money doesn't raise children. Discipline, boundaries, and accountability raise children. We gave you everything, and in doing so, we almost destroyed you. This was the only way to save you. The life you thought was taken from you was never stolen," Robert added. "It was only paused until you became worthy of it. Now you understand what it means to earn something, to work for something, to be grateful for something." From that day forward, everything changed for Marcus. Even though he had access to his family's wealth again, he chose to continue working. He kept his routine of waking early. He maintained the humility he had learned. He used his experience to build real businesses based on effort and value, not just inherited money. Marcus tracked down every woman he had treated poorly and apologized sincerely. Some forgave him. Others didn't want to hear from him. He accepted both responses with grace. He found the actor who had played Mr. Thompson and thanked him properly for the role he had played in transforming his life. Most importantly, Marcus learned that parents who truly love their children prepare them for life, not dependency. Comfort without character creates entitled adults. Wealth without values ruins a person. But effort gives life meaning, and no one is truly successful until they can stand on their own 2 feet. 3 years later, Marcus stood at a podium addressing young entrepreneurs at a business conference. He shared his story without shame or embarrassment, hoping that his mistakes might help someone else avoid the same pitfalls. "I thought money made me special," he told the audience. "But money without character is just paper in the hands of a fool. Real wealth comes from who you become, not what you inherit. My parents gave me the greatest gift they could have given me. They took away my crutches and forced me to learn how to walk on my own. And for that, I will be forever grateful." Thank you so much for watching this story on True Tone Story. If this message resonated with you, please hit that like button, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more life-changing stories. Your support means everything to us. Until next time, remember, true success is built on character, not convenience.